What if I told you that your money problems aren't about money at all? You work hard, you try to save, maybe you even follow all the right financial advice, yet something always feels off. The stress doesn't go away. The fear, the pressure, the shame, they linger. But what if the solution isn't another budget or side hustle? What if it's a 17th century philosopher who believed that true freedom starts in the mind, not in your wallet? In this video, we'll dive into the wisdom of Baruch Spinoza. Yes, the radical thinker who said desire controls us more than we control it, and connect his ideas to the messy, emotional world of money. You'll discover how rational clarity, emotional detachment, and inner peace might just be the tools you've been missing to finally take control of your financial life. This isn't about getting rich quick. It's about getting free. Stay with me, because once you understand what really drives your relationship with money, everything begins to change. Spinoza might not be the first name that comes to mind when you're struggling to pay your bills or deciding whether to splurge on a weekend getaway. But that's precisely why he matters. In a world dominated by noise, ads, trends, financial pressure, Spinoza's calm, razor-sharp focus on reason feels almost revolutionary. He believed that human suffering came from misunderstanding our desires and letting external things control us. Now think, how many of our money problems stem from exactly that? Imagine you're scrolling through your phone, and suddenly there's this perfect thing you never knew you needed. That's your desire, unfiltered. For Spinoza, the problem isn't the object. It's your lack of awareness about why you want it. He urged us to pause, reflect, and ask, is this choice guided by reason, or am I being moved like a leaf in the wind? When you apply that to your finances, everything changes. Budgeting stops being a punishment. It becomes self-knowledge in action. And here's the twist. Spinoza didn't want us to suppress desire, but to understand it. To use reason like a light in a dark room. The more you grasp your emotions, the less you're ruled by them, and the more empowered you feel when making financial decisions. So next time your heart races at a flash sale, remember, reason isn't cold. It's liberating. But what happens when our desires become stronger than our reason? That's where things get tricky. It's easy to blame money. We say things like money is the root of all evil, or rich people are selfish, as if coins and credit cards were plotting against us. But Spinoza would raise an eyebrow at that. For him, nothing is inherently good or bad. It's all about how we relate to it. Money isn't evil. What causes harm is our confused desire for it. Wanting money just to feel powerful or admired. That's where trouble brews. Picture someone chasing wealth not to meet their needs, but to impress others, to mask insecurity, or to fill a void. That's not financial freedom, it's emotional imprisonment with a gold-plated key. Spinoza teaches that when our desires come from external validation, we become enslaved by them. The more you crave status, the more you're owned by what you think others think of you. And let's be honest, that's a shaky way to build your life or your bank account. But there's hope. When you begin to understand your own desires, where they come from, what triggers them, you start to choose differently. You stop buying happiness in the form of gadgets and start investing in peace of mind. Spinoza isn't telling you to reject money. He's inviting you to examine the why behind each financial decision. Because once you see that clearly, well, everything else starts to shift. And speaking of shifts, how do we actually train ourselves to choose reason over impulse? Think about the last time you made a money decision that felt wrong 5 minutes later. Maybe it was an expensive dinner, a subscription you didn't need, or that limited offer you couldn't resist. Now, imagine having a built-in compass that points you toward what truly serves your well-being. That's what Spinoza believed rationality could be, a guide, not a punishment. Not cold logic, but a warm clarity that protects you from your own blind spots. Rationality, in Spinoza's view, is like cleaning your mental glasses. You see more clearly, which means you act more clearly. It's not about eliminating emotion. It's about putting it in dialogue with thought. Before you spend, ask yourself, does this align with my values? Will it bring lasting benefit or just momentary relief? These aren't boring questions. They're liberating. Because when you can pause and reflect, you reclaim power over your financial life. Let's be real, reason takes practice. It's easier to act on impulse than to reflect. But Spinoza's message is simple. The more you understand what drives you, the freer you become. You stop being a puppet of emotion and start becoming an author of your own story. And when that story includes financial peace, every conscious choice builds momentum. But there's a catch. What if everything around you is telling you that more money means more freedom? We've all heard it. Once I make enough money, I'll finally be free. It's a seductive promise, almost poetic. But Spinoza would call it an illusion, a mirage that keeps us walking, thirsting, never arriving. Why? Because if your freedom depends on something external, like wealth, then it's not really yours. It can be taken away. It can vanish in a crash, a crisis, or even a click. And that's not freedom. That's dependency dressed in luxury. Imagine someone working endless hours in a job they despise, saving every penny, believing that one day they'll escape and finally live. That's not empowerment, it's postponement. Spinoza believed true freedom came not from changing your circumstances, but from changing your understanding. If you're constantly chasing wealth to escape fear or shame, then wealth becomes your master. The irony? You might have more money than ever and feel more trapped than ever. But here's where it gets interesting. Spinoza invites us to flip the script. What if freedom isn't about having more, but needing less? Not in the sense of deprivation, but in clarity. When you stop assigning money the role of savior, you begin to see what actually matters. Your time, your peace, your relationships. And that realization is radical. But if freedom isn't in the money, then how do we find peace in a world that constantly revolves around it? Picture this. You check your bank account and feel a wave of anxiety. Too little, and panic sets in. Too much, and you feel guilty, or suddenly bold enough to overspend. This emotional roller coaster isn't about the numbers. It's about the attachment. For Spinoza, peace comes not from controlling the world, but from mastering our reactions to it. And that includes how we feel about money. Now don't get twisted. Spinoza isn't telling you to stop caring. He's inviting you to stop clinging. When your emotions are tied too tightly to your financial status, you ride a constant high-low cycle. One paycheck makes you feel powerful. Another makes you feel ashamed. That's exhausting. Detachment, in Spinoza's view, means seeing money for what it is, a tool. Not a mirror of your worth. Not a source of identity. Just a resource to be managed wisely. Here's the magic. Once you detach emotionally, you begin to make smarter choices. You're no longer trying to fix a feeling with a purchase. You're not afraid of losing status or obsessed with gaining more. You breathe. You choose. And in that space between emotion and action, peace takes root. But there's one more shift you need to make, and it's the hardest one. Knowing who you truly are beyond the things you buy. Let me ask you something simple, but hard. Do you really know why you spend the way you do? Most people don't. We think it's about needs, food, bills, comfort, but Spinoza would say it runs deeper. Behind every financial decision lies a hidden belief, a feeling, a story we tell ourselves. And unless we uncover those stories, we'll keep repeating the same patterns. More income, same emptiness. Self-knowledge, in Spinoza's philosophy, is power. Not the kind that controls others, but the kind that frees you from self-sabotage. When you know your triggers, loneliness, boredom, the need for approval, you can spot them before they hijack your wallet. Suddenly, that online cart full of treats doesn't look like love anymore. It looks like avoidance. And that awareness is the first step toward financial integrity. Now here's the beautiful part. When you align your spending with your essence, what really brings you joy, growth, connection, you spend less, but live more. You stop chasing status and start building meaning. That's not restriction. That's coherence. And the more coherent your life becomes, the more peace you feel. But what if true wealth doesn't come from spending at all, but from something deeper, something Spinoza called joy grounded in understanding? In a world where success is measured by what you own, Spinoza offers a radical idea. The highest form of joy comes from understanding, not from acquiring. He called it beatitudo, a deep, stable joy rooted in knowing who you are and how everything connects. It's not the rush you feel when your package arrives. It's the calm you feel when you no longer need the package. That, my friend, is real wealth. Think about it. Possessions break, get old, go out of style. But clarity? That only grows. When you live in alignment with your nature, when your mind and actions harmonize, you stop needing more to feel enough. You're not swayed by the latest trend or scared of missing out. You walk into a store and feel no urge, not because you're suppressing desire, but because your desires have changed. You've upgraded from craving to contentment. And here's where Spinoza's wisdom hits deepest. When your joy doesn't depend on external things, you become unshakable. Markets crash, fortunes shift, but your peace remains. You realize that wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in your ability to remain whole, no matter what's happening outside. That's the kind of joy money can't buy. And once you taste that, you start to see money not as the goal, but as a means. So what would your life look like if you stopped chasing and started understanding? So now the question is yours. Are you spending to fill a void or to express your values? Spinoza didn't give us financial tips. He gave us something far more valuable, a way to see through the fog of impulse and find clarity. If you start applying his wisdom, even in small choices, you'll notice the shift. Less guilt, less anxiety, more presence, more peace. And ironically, that peace makes you better with money, not worse. So here's your challenge. Next time you reach for your card, pause. Ask yourself, what's the real desire behind this? Is this decision guided by understanding or by fear? That simple moment of reflection can change your entire financial path. If this video stirred something in you, if it helped you think differently, then hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We're just getting started. Because here on Thinker's Life, we don't just want to live. We want to live wisely.